Okay. The one thing we should emphasize is with horn players. Let me just tell you cats something. You know, you cats have to really swing by yourself. You can't swing by the drummer. You got to swing by yourself. If I play a song, I say.
I'm about to make hitting driver a lot more fun for you. It's going to give you more distance, probably more consistency, and it's going to feel effortless. It's going to feel easy. Do a little demonstration first. I'd love you to do this with me. So driving would be ideal, but any club would kind of work. And it just kind of shows us how we've got sort of two ways to move the club. And if you're using the wrong way, that's going to make driver feel like it's an effort and it's hard work and you're not really getting the most out of it. Do it the right way, which I'm going to teach you in this video, it's going to feel much simpler. So take a golf club, driver is ideal, and just hold it sort of by the grip at the top. Now, if I wanted to move this driver head back and forth, kind of like a golf swing would, I can do that by applying what we call a torque to the golf club. So I could do this, and I can move the driver back and forth, and I can achieve a decent movement and a little bit of speed at the bottom. But I feel like I'm having to do a lot of the work. I'm using a lot of the muscles in my forearm and wrists and hands, and it feels like an effort to do that. But it kind of achieves the right thing. Now try this. Take that same golf club and just literally hold the top of the grip with 2 fingers. And I'm holding that incredibly lightly. Now we're going to use a bit of physics to our advantage. All I'm going to do is I'm going to move this grip in a couple of different directions. I'm going to move it back and forth. And if I do that, look what happens. The golf club has a reaction to that and I get a swing. But I tell you what, this doesn't feel like I'm creating this movement with effort. It feels like I'm using natural forces. This is me just moving the grip back and forth. Now what about if I do this, still holding the club incredibly lightly, but start to move the grip back and forth and add a little bit of upwards in there? Well, watch what happens now. Now we start to get some really big swings of the golf club. Look at that. Now, if that club is swinging further on this side of the ball, that tells us that there's more speed down at the bottom. More speed down here causes it to travel further. So I was able to create speed, more speed by what I did to the grip of the club. I use physics and I use momentum. If you can start to do that in your golf swing, you're going to get more speed and it's going to feel effortless. And you know what you also get with that? Rhythm, flow, timing. It feels smooth and it feels repeatable. So here are the 3 steps that you need. The first one is what starts the golf swing. Okay? This is what I learned from Steve. The body starts the golf swing. Okay? But before that happens, we need to make sure that when we set up over the ball, we're not obsessed with this, the club head. When we start thinking of the club head, when we start obsessing about the club head, maybe we're obsessed with the setup position, or maybe you're working on the takeaway and you're trying to take the club straighter back, or maybe more on the outside or more on the inside, or you're trying to not open the club face. When you're obsessed with the club head, that's where your focus goes. And this is what we tend to see. We tend to see setups which are static, and then what moves first? The club head, because that's what we're thinking about. If the club head is moving first, that is our first little demonstration where we're using a force to move the golf club. So the first thing I learned from Steve was to keep moving. When you're set up over the ball, keep moving, keep your body moving, keep some flow in there. And look at what you're trying to do. You're trying to hit a fairway. You're trying to hit a drive a good distance down the fairway, so look out there. So let me show you this correct sort of way to set up. I've picked the shot, I've picked my target, I've done all my pre-planning, going through my routine. But when I actually go ahead and set up, eyes go ball, but then target. Target again, feet are moving, club is moving, eyes are on the target. My focus is very much out there on what I'm trying to do, the shot that I'm trying to hit, and my body is moving. Why that's really important is because it brings us on to our second point. What starts the golf swing? Now, what we sort of said when we did that little second demonstration, we said if we move the grip first, the club head has a reaction to that. This is the move we want to make. But we're going to extend that. We're going to say we've got club head, we've got top of the grip, but also we've got your hands and your arms extended on that. So the first thing I actually want you to move, your body. And again, learning from Steve, seeing the data he's got some great evidence to suggest this. When he measures the great drivers of the golf ball, and we're talking PGA Tour thresholds, golfers who are experts at this club, what he sees is with all of these golfers, when they are set up, the first thing that moves, not the club head. It is not the club head. It is the body. The body is the first thing to move. Now I'm demonstrating this quite extreme. It's not like this far, but the body's moving. Why is that really important? Well, what's the first thing that we want to move in this demonstration? The grip. What do we not want to have move first? The club head. So when you're obsessed with your swing and you're static with the body, what's the first thing to move? The club head. And straight away we're into that swing which feels like it's a lot of effort. It feels like you're having to work hard to control the club, and it feels like it's difficult to repeat. So here's what I'd love you to do. I'd love you to take a setup, focus on the target, and step number 2 is just a visual. I want you to imagine, bear with me, this will make sense in a moment, that the bottom of your driver is actually stuck to the ground. Stuck to the ground on some sticky tape or something like that. And your job is with your body to unstick that driver, but feeling like you can't do it through your hands. So I would be very simply keeping my body moving, looking down the target, and then when I'm ready to swing, I want to feel like I'm actually using my legs, my hips, and my torso to actually almost like unstick the driver from the ground. What that's going to do instantly is get your body to start the movement. And that's what the great drivers do. That's how they get this flow, this rhythm, this natural effortless speed, because the sequencing right away from the golf ball is correct. Your club head moves first, gone. You've only moved the club 3 feet and you've lost that sequence of events. So start to feel like the body starting. You're using your legs to do that. Now, if you want to get that feeling dialed in a little bit more, give this one a go. Take an alignment stick. Really simple. Pop it into the ground on an angle. Take your setup. Take your hands here, twist them round and hold the alignment stick. And I want to feel like I'm holding the stick in my hands, but I do nothing with my hands and arms. So my wrists and hands are doing nothing. And if I had to make a backswing, what would I do? Well, I would need to use my legs, my hips and my torso to pull that out the ground. So where is my energy going? It's going away and up. This is what the great drivers are doing. This little exercise, so simple, but it's going to allow you to feel what that initial movement is like. Take a look at Rory. You know, if you get his swing from face on, you'll see he does this fantastically. He has this little kind of bump away to start his golf swing. If you get that start, you're off to a fantastic start to your golf swing. Brings us on to our third point. What was I doing in this little demonstration to really boost that club head? I was moving it side to side, but I started to move it up. When I move it up, it gives us a kick at speed at the bottom. Look at that. As I move it up, it starts to give us this extra little bit of speed and we get that club traveling further. So what we do through the ball, through impact, can give us that speed boost. How many of you are finishing your golf swings down, low, chest down, head is forward of your hips? That's a power leak. It's making the golf swing feel more of an effort. What look the great drivers do, their pressure and their weight is very often going backwards onto this foot. Their shoulder is moving up and away. And what does that do to the grip? It pulls it upwards, which kicks the club head out with more speed. So here is your next little exercise. And this is just really to just get you to feel the right movement. This is going to look a little extreme, but I'd love to have you do this in practice. Take a setup inside a ball. We're going to make a little backswing, so we're going to get our body moving early. You're going to push into that left side early. So I'm going to feel like I push down into that left side. And then when I've done that, I'm actually going to push back and away. So my lead foot is actually pushing back off the ground. I'm going to show you that with a little bit more speed, because it'll probably look a little bit easier with a little bit of speed. So we're going to go back, we push in, and we push back off the ball. Okay, now I know that looks a little extreme, but what this is really doing is getting you to use the ground. Now, I don't want you to do that when you actually hit drives and fall back and walk backwards, But when we look at what the great drivers do, their pressure very often goes into that lead side, but then it starts to move backwards this way. Look at the head of great drivers of the golf ball. What is it doing? It's often going backwards away from the target because they're pushing. So if you can keep moving, keep flowing, don't be obsessed with the club head, start with your body and push up and back through impact, trust me, the golf swing is going to feel like it's never felt before. It's going to feel more flowing, more rhythmical, effortless. You're going to get more speed. It's going to be more repeatable. Honestly, you're not going to believe how many benefits you get from this movement.